Good afternoon, everyone. Are you having fun at TOKEN2049? Oh, you all sound very tired. Let's try it again. Are you all having fun at TOKEN2049? Woo! I like that. Good afternoon. I'm Kelvin, co-founder of Spartan Group, and I manage our asset management business. So Spartan, for those of you that don't know, we've been in the space for about 5 years, and we are one of the leading advisory firms in the space, and also we have a growing asset management business. So I run that, and I'm very excited today to be on stage with some of my friends here, whom I've known for a number of years. And without further ado, I'm going to sort of have each of you introduce yourselves, and also your firm or your fund, so the audience can understand what you're doing a little bit better.
Hello, this is Ryan. I'm co-founder and partner at Hashed. Hashed started from 2016 as an individual group of investor, and we 2017 because of kimchi premium. There are so many projects came to Korea. We made a crypto community and connect the project to the high-profile people in Korea. That's how we started. Now we are based in Korea, but we spent to San Francisco and Singapore and Bangalore. So we are taking care of investment in Asia market usually, but we are also close to the US market as well. I'm in charge of mostly Asian investment.
Thanks. My name is Matthew Graham, CEO of Sino. We're known for our early investments in legendary firms such as and projects such as FTX and Solana and Wintermute. And our world-class competency is we're now from Egypt to Malaysia and everywhere in between. We invest all around the world, but we can bring you to all of these idiosyncratic but enormously important emerging economies such as India and Singapore and Greater China, et cetera, from Egypt to Malaysia. Great to be here today.
Yeah, hey everyone, I'm Gleb and I represent Binance. Binance is one of the leading crypto exchanges in the world. So I joined Binance 4 years ago, and right now I'm leading this broader Asia region, including APAC, Turkey, and some other countries. So yeah, great to be here.
Hi, I'm Jason. I'm the founder of Folius. We are a, relatively speaking, younger firm. We've only been around for a year. We are dedicated to invest in APAC founders, both in the region as well as outside of the region. Mostly focusing on applications on the very top, as well as infra and SaaS tooling at the very bottom. For apps specifically, we have led the investment in Steppen with Sequoia back in the days. Very nice to be here as well.
Great, thank you. So as you can see, our panelists have got an extensive experience in the crypto space, and we're here to talk about what's going on in the markets. So to start things off, obviously we've had a very interesting year so far, to say the least. I think the last time I had so much fun was back in 2018. Just curious to hear from all of you. Obviously markets are pretty ugly globally, not just in crypto, but obviously crypto's had a more violent sell-off than some of the other asset classes, and I'm interested to understand how that's affecting your business or your investing activity and how you're planning to navigate these markets. Jason, maybe start with you.
Yeah, so we do public and private investments. I think on the private side, from the APAC founder side, especially from the China region, the macro headwind really hasn't affected the potential large influx of potential Web2 founders coming into the space. I think for those guys, they are driven out of Web2 for a whole host of factors, ranging from their comp package tanking because their stock's in the gutter, to maybe their Web2 startup wouldn't be easily backed by the Web2 funds in China. But Web3 is sort of this really interesting alternative for them. So the quality and number of founders actually improved this year. And on the private side, I think we are going to probably keep doing those investments even at a faster clip than before. On the public side, I think it's been we're going to be more cautious, holding a bit more cash, large cap beta. And in terms of the small cap lean that we set ourselves up to do initially, I think we're really going to wait until the macro environment stabilizes.
And Gleb, you run obviously one of the biggest exchanges in the world, and you probably see a lot of activity. How has that affected your business and what you guys are doing?
Yeah, so right now we see different interesting trends, in Asia. Of course, we're in the middle, of the bear market, right? And it's affecting, the industry. But overall, we at Binance, we're okay with bear market. We think that within bear market, always the strongest projects, will survive. We saw that during previous bear market, right? And we think that Asia will definitely be one of the key drivers of the next bull run when it will start, right? We see that there's huge population in some countries. Traditional financial system is not so strong. So I think it opens up opportunity for crypto to be adopted there. So for example, like Sri Lanka, right? So financial system collapsed there. And right now, of course, there is huge instability in the world, right? With the economy, with the politics. But actually, this instability is really driving crypto adoption. Yeah, let's see. Just have a look at Turkey, right? Huge inflation, and everyone is in crypto there.
Right. Right. Matt, you are based in China, and I guess the world's sort of watching China, right? And tell us a little bit about what your outlook is and what you guys are doing.
Sure. So I'm more based on a plane these days, to be honest. The last three places that I was New York, and before that Dubai and Cairo. But at any rate, I mean, look. Number one, crypto, we should all know by now that it's fundamentally a risk-on asset. And we have an inflationary environment, and we have things going on with the pound, et cetera, et cetera. So look, it's a risk-on asset. Number two, we're starting to mature as an asset class. So early on in our journey, 2012, et cetera, crypto was mostly about endogenous factors. That is to say, what happened with Bitcoin prices at that time was mostly about Bitcoin itself. But we're maturing as an asset class. It's about exogenous factors now. So crypto is increasingly correlated to macro events. This is just kind of a natural progression that will continue to be more and more true, and it's about maturation. But I look at it like this. I fundamentally believe that bear markets are where you make your money, and bull markets are where you find out how much money you made. So I tend to be very counter-cyclical, and I get really tight when I see people, buying yachts, and they're very happy, and I get very cranky and stingy. And then in bear markets, that's where we get much more aggressive. So to me, this is like a perfect time. The LARPers are gone, and the true builders are here, and valuations are reasonable, and so we are just absolutely open for business.
Yep, can't agree more. And what about at Hash, Ryan? You're one of the key players in Asia, right? And you guys have been in a space for a long, long time. You've seen many cycles, albeit not every cycle is the same. And particularly this one, I guess we have a bit of sort of this inflation issue. What are you guys doing?
So from last year, we're not just only the crypto investor, but also now we set up the trading team inside, also a venture builder subsidiary, and recently, we built a HOR, which is Hashed Open Research. We hired the Secretary Minister of Korean Government Treasury. So we are talking with various players in government and FSC, which is the SEC of Korea. So this bear market is a perfect timing to prepare the next trend. So, and also from government perspective, they have to make a foundation for next crypto ecosystem. So we are closely talking with them to make a right policy and regulation. I think this bear market is perfect timing, and Korea as well. I think the Web2 investment is quite flourished, but this bear market is not like a last bear market in 2018 because whole macro is corrupting now. that means I think a huge opportunity to Web3 because even Web2 founder has a motivation to move from traditional market to Web3 and find out the new opportunity. So I think just for Hashed, we will utilize the opportunity to make more like bringing like a Web2 smart founders to come here. And it's already like last year, like the difference from 2018 was like not many scam projects came out. Like last year, I saw so many good qualified founders came in, especially like many game publisher, AAA studio, tech giants. They're all coming into crypto and making a very legit project. So I think we'll see more opportunity from this year, next year.
Great. That's interesting, the point that you brought about these tech giants coming into the space. Obviously we're seeing, Korea has a lot of IP, right? And I can't remember a time when Korean IP has sort of proliferated so globally, right? So I think we can sort of maybe spend a few minutes sort of talking about what's going on in the world of gaming and metaverse and music and so on, right? Because that's obviously been a huge area where venture capital has gone into. And I'll be curious to hear, maybe this time we start from Ryan in terms of, what are you seeing out of Korea and how you guys are supporting the growth of the ecosystem?
So in Korea, especially in our venture builder, we are mostly focusing on the gaming and metaverse and K-pop group. The funny thing is like we are making a decentralized K-pop group among our project in venture builder. If we introduce our project, most of the foreign investors are like extremely interested into our K-pop group because like this is a new concept. Like many guys like BTS, but nobody see the decentralized BTS. What the decentralized BTS mean? So many decision making is happening on to make the great K-pop group, but fans cannot participate into that journey. So now we are like we already made the application and selling the NFT photo card to fans, and fans can get points whenever they bought a photo card. Then they have to spend the points to vote every single very important decision making. So this kind of experiment is like interesting to from the traditional entertainment company as well, like Hype, which is the entertainment company of BTS, SM, and any other entertainment company want to copy and learn about how we can go through this business. So I think this will be just starting point, and any other like entertainment company and contents will join to this kind of experiment.
Got it. And Mehdi, you guys have got people in all the local markets. Are you guys sort of seeing the same level of interest and engagement in those places, and how are you guys attacking the space?
So I think it really is something that is very nuanced on a market-to-market basis. And so we talked about K-pop in South Korea, and for example, NFTs are huge in Thailand. I think you really have to look at each separate market. You can't really, although we're here to talk about the Asian crypto landscape today, I think it's enormously important to understand that there's massive variation from one country to the other. The regulatory challenges are different. The adoption speed is different. The very specific types of things that people are interested in are different. So I think it's really important to always keep that in mind, is something I would definitely want to emphasize.
Right. And Gleb, you have anything to add to that? I mean, you run sort of Binance Asia, and you guys also have a pretty lively sort of NFT market.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think that markets within Asia are very, very different. Like you can't really like compare like India like with South Korea, right? And like with Philippines. So in some markets, as in the Philippines, GameFi is huge. In other markets, they can be like other trends. Overall, in terms of NFT, I think there is some kind of like huge misconception about NFT, right? People think that it's some kind of like picture on the blockchain, right? But NFT overall has like great technology behind it. So you can do a lot of things with NFT. And this is what we also developing at Binance, right? We have this, some kind of soulbound token. So if you like pass KYC at Binance, so you can like mint it. And I think that this kind of, of application of NFTs has a huge, huge potential. And overall, yeah, in Asia, I think the major challenge is, of course, regulation. In some countries such as India, Indonesia, we see like tax per transaction, and it is affecting the industry locally in a bad way. In some other countries, they have, regulators have other concerns. So I think that it's our like job as, industry players to educate regulators more and, to help them to understand, how it's better to shape, crypto regulation in order to protect users, but at the same time, in order to give an opportunity to industry to grow.
Yeah. And Jason, you were one of the earliest investors into Spartan, which obviously has generated a lot of interest earlier this year, and brought a lot of new people into Web3 and the world of sort of play to earn or move to earn, right? What is your perspective on that? Is play to earn or move to earn alive and kicking, or I think you work very closely with the founders, so it would be curious to get your perspective.
I thought you would never bring it up because I get nervous sometimes when people bring it up. Some of them bought shoes very expensively at the top, and some of my friends included. So usually I apologize profusely and try to divert the conversation away. I think something we have learned is that the user profile, when you introduce a earning mechanics, gets altered meaningfully. And to the extent that whether it's an entertainment product or just a usual application uses an inflationary token as a user acquisition mechanism, the ultimate question becomes, where is that cash flow on the other hand that balances out the inflation? And there are certain mechanics that can be implemented to create long-term, short-term maturity mismatches, and you're printing a token to sort of artificially inflate the value. But ultimately, the cash flow has to match, what goes out. So we sort of put ourselves on an S-curve of growth, and I think we reached the ceiling of the industry of DAU very, very quickly. And then we're sort of trying to drive industry growth in terms of, okay, well, we need to onboard more users, and how do they actually get fiat on and off ramp? And the industry is still a little too early for us to sort of really take it away like we would potentially in Web 2. And I think going forward, in terms of the play to earn or move to earn or even using token as incentives, what I see is potentially more careful and constrained attempt in maybe you're not earning, but you're like trying to make your initial investment back, such that the user profile isn't as altered as much. I think there will be a lot more experimentation in token mechanics to force or compel continuous contribution to the ecosystem. Or I think there's going to be a lot more experimentation on game types that it won't be as one-dimensional or won't be as straightforward and grindy. And all of those things, we see experiments from all the other game studios in the region. Hopefully, will push the industry forward in the next 6 to 12 months.
Yeah, I mean, whatever people's views on Spartan are, I think it's obviously been an interesting sort of evolution, right, to what we saw with Axie Infinity last year, and I think sort of the Spartan team introduced a lot of interesting sort of token sinks, token economics, and took that experiment the next stage further. I think we're all still trying to figure out, how to make the model more sustainable, and but I think all of these experiments sort of, eventually drive progress, right? Let's take a step back and switch gears somewhat and talk about DeFi, which I think has also sort of struggled somewhat over the last year or two. Matt, you're a pretty prolific DeFi investor. And I just wanted to get your perspective in terms of what you're seeing, whether you're seeing any new innovation in DeFi that is interesting and that you guys are spending time on.
Sure. So putting aside macro factors, I think the primary issue with DeFi over the course of the last year plus is that we've gotten a little bit ahead of our skis in terms of having functionality relative to liquidity. So basically what I mean is we have a lot of increasingly specific, very highly engineered functionality that has been built out, and it very much outstrips the retail and the institutional liquidity that is available to support that functionality, especially if we take away the short-term yield farming, et cetera, et cetera. So I think really we need, really the number one thing we need in DeFi is onboarding liquidity to support all of that functionality, institutional and again, retail. Retail, of course, continues to be an issue because fundamentally we have to be more mainstream friendly. I frequently like to think of my mom and my sisters as an example because they're very smart people that are not highly technical. They're never gonna if I have to explain, okay, so you have a private key and then you gotta potentially protect against hackers and things like that, they're never going to use this stuff. So we really need to start thinking about what does realistic mainstream adoption actually look like, and we need to start thinking about, in a regulated, compliant context, how are we going to onboard institutional liquidity, because we've already built out functionality that far outstrips all of that liquidity. So I think that's the primary thing that I would keep in mind in assessing the DeFi landscape.
Yeah. Ryan, any thoughts on DeFi and how do you see the DeFi vertical sort of shaping out over the next year or two?
Yeah, so I think DeFi was a very interesting experiment, but at the same time, there was so many exploit and log pull happened. Mm-hmm. So I think, first of all, I think anonymous characteristic is quite tricky point because I think regulators think this is kind of so much black money or like money laundering is happening on DeFi. So now after this corruption, the huge difference between before and after, as regulator is seriously thinking of this industry, especially DeFi is one of the key industry they have to touch on. So maybe next era, I think DeFi have to be, I think they working with a regulator first. Right. And like Matt said, I think that for Matt setup, technical point should be very easy. Like normal user cannot use it without any wallet. So maybe like centralized entity should be needed to figure out, provide a better user experience. Sure. And also if that accident happen, they have to figure out who will recover the user's money, right? So I think the kind of things have to be complemented.
Right. And speaking of regulations, obviously the US Treasury early on this year or a few months ago also went after Tornado Cash, right? And I know the industry has had pretty polarized view about that and whether there was regulatory overreach on the part of the US Treasury. We'll be curious to get your views on that. Maybe we'll start off with Matt, since you're American and you've
Sure. So I think first and foremost, with respect to Tornado Cash, I mean, I really feel like this is like a rehash of stuff that we did a generation ago, which maybe is just dating myself a little bit. Probably is the number one thing I'm doing right now. But look, we went through this whole discussion a generation ago about encryption, and at that time, certain types of encryption, even the code was illegal, and we had big court fights about that, and eventually it was ruled that that you couldn't just say that the algorithm for the encryption was illegal. We already did this a generation ago. So this is really reminiscent of that to me. And I guess my starting point, and you'd probably have a pretty hard time convincing me to move off this starting point. My starting point is that the code should be okay. I don't think you should be able to say, get that code off GitHub or whatever. And then, the application of Tornado Cash code, that's where it definitely gets much more complicated. But I'm not super sympathetic to the idea that you can outlaw something, that you should be able to outlaw Tornado Cash because it does have a higher percentage of non-compliant uses. I'm not super sympathetic to that, I guess, in general either, is the additional thing that I would say.
Yeah, yeah. And Gleb, obviously you guys have a pretty global business, right? And you talk to a lot of regulators in the different parts of the world, and you try to, shape regulations as well, I guess. Yeah, what is your perspective in terms of, where the regulators are, who's most progressive, and what are some of the policies that you're seeing coming out of a place like Dubai, for instance, where, Binance has also started to build a presence?
So yeah, we see pretty loyal crypto framework in Dubai. So we have pretty big hub there. We also see that European regulators, they quite proactive in terms of regulation, right? So there will be like MiCA. In Asia, I would say that regulation is very fragmented, right? Each regulator in APAC, they have their own views, like how to protect users and what should be done. And this is what I told before. I think we need to do more education. So for example, right now we also collaborate with a number of regulators, for example, in Philippines, in order to, we are making workshops. We're explaining how crypto is working, and provide some insights into the industry. Yeah, in terms of Tornado Cash and those privacy coins, I think there will always be some kind of demand on privacy, right? And I think there will be more regulation in the industry, and the more regulation there will be, the more demand on privacy will be. But again, we need to explain regulators how it is working, right? It's open source that anyone actually can make a fork or try to make some kind of privacy coin, right? And that's a broader question whether it should be banned, and if people have rights to to be private, in Web3 space.
Right.
Yeah.
Great. Yeah, so we've talked a little bit about sort of gaming, right? We've talked a little bit about DeFi, and you guys are all actively investing out of your funds on very early stage opportunities as well, right? So I'll be curious to also pick your brain in terms of understanding what are some of the areas, the newer areas, right? That new use cases that you're excited about. For me personally, I think one of the areas that I've been keeping very close tabs on is the entire sports space, because there's obviously a massive fan base out there, and the industry has obviously been around for a long time, but hasn't really evolved and become digitalized, right? And we're starting to see some excitement there over what Chili's is doing, for instance, and Sorare. And one of the interesting projects that we have personally invested in is this project called Fan Controlled Sports, which is building this whole alternative, sports league. And one of the first places they're tackling is American football. So they're playing this. They have physical players that are playing this alternative fantasy sports league in a real life stadium, but everything about it is different from the NFL, right? And they give control to their users. The users decide which players to pick, who goes in the lineup. They decide on the strategy on game day itself, right? So really engaging users, and I'm pretty excited about sports space in general, but would be keen to hear what other areas you guys are excited about. Jason or Ryan, anybody wants to take that first?
You want to go?
So I think fashion industry is quite interesting because like I think a PFP is also just fashion. If you think about fashion too, the reason why they are caring about fashion is like they want to they express I'm not like you, or I'm flexing, something like that. And PFP is exactly same as the fashion characteristic. So the reason why people are buying like BAYC and CryptoPunk is one of the reasons is they want to involve into a community, but at the same time they want to show off and show off I'm flexing. I have tons of money, stuff like that. But if we come close to the fashion, I think people, the demand of the buying the PFP can move to fashion industry if metaverse is flourished. So far, most of the metaverse don't have a traffic much yet, but the fashion can drive the traffic of the metaverse. And if that converge with a game characteristic, then the market will be huge. So we are like looking for the good fashion. First of all, not just technology, but also if they can make a new trend or like with a very prominent art director, we are very interested in.
Yeah,
right now.
yeah, absolutely. I mean, obviously, we're seeing the luxury brands coming into the space, right? Tiffany with their, CryptoPunks kind of necklace, and Gucci with the NFTs, and Dolce & Gabbana with the same thing. Yeah, so certainly an area to keep an eye on. What about you, Matt? Anything interesting you're seeing?
So first of all, I love Brian's comment about NFTs as flexing. Here's how I think about metaverse and a lot of related concepts. Number one, we are spending more and more of our time in the digital realm every day. Number two, human behavior is fundamentally not going to change. So what that means is that the full range of human behaviors that we see in the analog world are going to manifest themselves in the digital world. Now, you can't drive a Lamborghini. Well, I mean, you could have your digital Lamborghini, but the point is we have all kinds of ways that we're very familiar with of flexing in meat space and in the analog world. Those are going to be replicated in the digital world, and one way that we're already seeing that is through different types of NFT PFPs. Of course, there are related issues of identity, and there are a lot of nuances, but I just wanted to say that I really like what you said there. So what are we excited about? I think we really want to see products and features that have real utility in and of itself, and then crypto takes a supporting role, whether it be for accelerating user adoption or bootstrapping community or enhancing functionality. We want to see things that already kind of make sense and then crypto supports. And I think we talked a little bit about gaming already, but I think gaming is such an instructive example. There are two issues in my view with many Web3 gaming projects thus far. Number one, frankly, a lot of the games aren't super fun, so that's like a big problem. And then number two, the token economies are extremely reflexive. So what that means is that if you don't have a constant influx of new players, there's a boom and bust phenomenon. Both of these fundamentally are related to the fact that these are crypto-first projects. And what we need to do is we need to reverse that. We need to have professional game developers that know how to make something you actually want to play, and then we enhance the game through crypto. In fact, ultimately, what mainstream adoption would look like in a gaming context, this will take time, but ultimately what it will look like is you'll be engaging in a fun game, and you'll be doing things with crypto, and you won't even realize or be thinking about the fact that that you're currently using an NFT or that you did something with crypto just now. You won't even think about it like that. You'll just think, oh, I'm playing this really fun game. So gaming is such an instructive example in these ways, and what we really want to see, again, is we want to see products and features and functionality that make sense in and of themselves, and then crypto supports and enhances, things like that.
Yeah, speaking of sort of fun games, I see a number of these Korean games that have had, relative success, big audiences that are now sort of starting to inject some crypto elements into the games. So I'm hopeful that that's coming. The two games as well that I'm personally we're invested in obviously, but that I'm excited about, that's also going to come. One of them is called Metalcore. It's kind of like a shooter game with mechs and all that sort of stuff. And the other one is called Shrapnel. That's a first-person shooter. So I can't wait for those to come. Jason, what about yourself? Are you seeing any new verticals that are interesting to you?
Yeah, I think echoing Ryan's point and Matthew's point, I really look forward to like consumer brands or consumer experiences that use Web3 as like an enhancing module to do better. So like the girl band example, really hot girls dancing on stage, but you have this app that is sort of developed by the girl band, and you can really sort of live sign transactions to satisfy some purposes. Or if it's a really strong luxury consumer company with this like, it's like flexing a status, but it's like a membership token, and then you get access to all these hot parties, really exclusive events, and at the sign-in, you sign a transaction to prove that you have access. And Web3 is there to support these ownership of access effectively. I think there's scope for a lot of commoditized Web2 applications to really add Web3 user acquisition features to accelerate their own growth as well as get a leg up versus competition. For example, why can't somebody fork Chrome or Brave and build a browser earn type feature where if you're just browsing with a really good browser, actually get paid to browse a website with a mobile native wallet as well as NFT marketplace built in. Somebody's already building that, and we funded that unannounced yet. And then lastly, I think to support all of it, there probably needs to be a mobile native two-factor security module that makes this sort of mobile experience way more seamless. And we are actively searching for a business to invest in that area.
Yep. Great, thanks for sharing that. We have about 1 minute left. In the audience, I think we have a bunch of entrepreneurs, would-be entrepreneurs that are here to sort of listen to you guys. And obviously we're living through crypto winter at the moment, and who knows how long it takes before things start to bottom out. If you had to give one piece of advice to an entrepreneur today that's coming into Web3, looking to build, looking to raise capital, what would that be? Maybe Ryan, you want to start?
Okay. Yeah, it will be a very tough time, but I think people know people. People knows people's intention truly. So I think we met so many people at the same time, but if you're real, we can find you. So please keep developing, and please come to Hashed.
I like that.
The advice is call me.
Matty?
Find superfans. Most projects will never have even 2 or 3 people that absolutely love and need the product. If you can make a product that 2 or 3 people absolutely fucking love, excuse my language, and need, then you can get from 2 or 3 to 10 to 50 to 1,000. Most projects fail because they never even get to 2 or 3. That's the number one thing that I would say.
Yeah. My advice would be to focus on user growth, because a lot of projects in Web3, they think about like token, how to get listed on Binance or other exchanges. But I think first of all, you guys need to focus on how to get users, how to increase your user base. So that should be like key priority.
If you're iterating and growing your KPI, get yourself to a 30-month runway. I think the macro could be pretty vicious the next 24 months.
Right. Well, thank you all. I've had a lot of fun, and I'm sure the audience has as well, and really appreciate your insights and views. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.